starting right now. There we go. And so we'll start off with some housekeeping stuff. Final draft information ought to come to you at the end of next week, possibly mid next week. My current pace was really solid up until this morning. And I was not able to get any done this morning. And then I've got to leave almost right after school to go pick up my wife and just all this other stuff. So today, I don't know, but if I can really, if I can make up for today over the weekend, I'm hoping that Wednesday I should be done with everything that I have at present. If any come in later than that, those will probably be a little later. But I'll get that final draft information to you, hopefully by the end of the week. Thursday and Friday, I will not be in the building. Folks who are working from home, there will be no Google Meet. Not quite sure exactly what I'm going to be having you do at that time. We may be close enough that the Friday, that might be the writing day on Heart of Darkness, but I want to make sure that you are solid on this text prior to that. So I'll be shifting attention to the Tempest at that time, and I just reopened that so that folks who still do not have that yet can do that for me. If you've not yet written about the Tempest by the time that I get in there, I'm adding zeros, so keep that in mind. Hagseed has a revision opportunity. It's optional. If I don't see you in class and you hand wrote, I'm scanning and sending your way, but I think I just got them all out for everybody who's here. Yes. Let's see. Directions are there, linked. There are 2 new AP videos. The first one, I'm not a fan of the title. It's titled How to Dig Deeper. That's a cliche. You don't want to talk about how we have to dig deep into reading. It's there. It's either there or is not there. And the same speaker of How to Dig Deeper and Read Actively is also the speaker for How to Approach Writing, Getting Started, and Unstuck. So it's about writer's block. And ultimately, on the one hand, I empathize with those of you who say that you experience writer's block. But at the same time, I feel that it is as mythological as whatever that thing is that you guys are suffering from. What's senioritis? Thank you. Yeah, those are lies. Those are lies that have been sold to you. For some reason, you've bought them. Don't buy into that. That's garbage. Check out AP Classroom for progress checks and videos. If I need to reopen something for you, please let me know. Follow those directions for the AP Digital app. This is all old stuff. The assessment for your 4th novel or play is this outline. It's due tomorrow night, 11:59. If you are ready to go with it, you've got a physical copy. If you're here and present with a physical copy, I'll take it. If you have that physical copy tomorrow at some point during the day, I'm in room 196 for blocks 1, 2, and 4. Alternatively, yes, you can submit that up until 11:59, just like everybody else. But if you want the pleasure of, doing the physical thing and stapling it and handing it in, I'm here for that as well. Okay. But you've got up until 11:59. Okay. There's our meet. So it says 10 minutes here, and actually I'm going to give you about 15. Look through the text, gather your questions. Questions that you have, please put them in the chat. Folks in the room, I'm going to ask you that you put them on the index card. You do not have to put your name on this index card. But what are the questions that you are asking about Heart of Darkness? Page number specific, if possible. If it's sort of a general thing, I can understand that, but sometimes it's actually. And you may have a lot more questions now.
Do we need 2?
Did I give you 2? See, that's the day. So I'll give you closer to 15. Thanks. About 5 more minutes. That's interesting. Folks at home, if you've got some questions, if you put them in the chat. What are you guys doing on yours? They get all messy. Oh, I don't even know if we can call them chapters, right? No, they're darn long chapters. Okay, I try to do some semblance of order as I did before. Okay. And maybe I. Oh boy. Oh, this will be interesting. I hope running over that cord doesn't ruin the cord. Just gotta set them up all visually. Abby, I grabbed your card. Thanks. Okay. Did we talk about the biblical passage from Matthew about the whited sepulcher? Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's kind of a last one, I think. Okay. All right. And this is I think a clear first one. And let me take a picture of this. My English 11 class. Hopefully that'll work. And I'll remember that I took a picture of it because I forget stuff. And where's the eraser? Does anybody see one? Ah! And you know what? I probably, what is it? Oops. Oh, yikes. I broke his frame. That's probably why it's sitting right there. Okay. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. What?
You won't tell if you can fall 100 in class. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I need to move this a little bit too, just so that I feel bad about it. Other slide. All right. So first question, why is Marlowe the only character with a true name? And he isn't. And I was able to hit this up with all the classes yesterday. And it was interesting. So, we've got Marlowe. Okay. That's a good time. Try this. We got Marlowe, page 10. Freslevin. And then page 8, the allusion to this guy whose name keeps coming up, who we don't yet know. And Marlowe, going back to, let's say is it 4, page 4? And this characterization of Marlowe, and actually we should probably, and maybe it's more important to start with Freslevin. Freslevin, page 10. That Freslevin is, on the one hand, violent, but also the kindest, gentlest creature that ever walked on 2 legs. And at the very bottom of page 10, second line from the bottom, third line from the bottom, he is what? Supernatural being. Supernatural. He's no Wile E. Coyote, mind you. So that is Freslevin. Marlowe, on page 4, cross-leg right aft, sunken cheeks, yellow complexion. And I know we've seen this before, but might be helpful to have the visual again. Sunken cheeks. You don't look good. You didn't used to look like this. Yellow complexion. Could be gold. Resemble an idol. Does that mean he's an idol? No, it means he only looks like an idol. Then on page 7, and actually, it's built up that he's unique. He's not typical. He tells a very specific kind of story. The stories that he tells are indirect and complex. And so we've got to, kind of process them. Page 7, Buddha, resembling a Buddha. A spiritual hero. The Buddha is a spiritual hero. The other kind is the spiritual hero who has learned or found a mode of experiencing the supernormal range of human spiritual life and then come back and communicated it. So Freslevin cannot be a spiritual hero because he's dead. There. He never got to return. He didn't get to tell his story. In fact, the doctor in Brussels tells us that hardly anybody gets out of there alive. Okay? So the spiritual hero goes out there, has the experience, comes back, and communicates it. What's going on with this heart of darkness here? What is the heart of darkness? The bulk of it, starting around page 8. It's Marlowe communicating the experience that he had after coming back. The moral objective for the spiritual hero is that of saving a people or a person or saving an idea. And I add that emphasis. I added that emphasis back at Beowulf time, knowing that we were going to be heading into Heart of Darkness, because one of the things that he talks about is how it is the idea of colonialism that redeems the idea that redeems colonialism. And what is that idea? And that's something that we've got to just kind of, what is the, he never tells us. I would guess it might be the white man's burden, but it might be something else. The moral objective is that of saving a people or a person or saving an idea. Then on page 14, been represented, he is as an exceptional and gifted creature. One you don't get hold of every day. Piece of good fortune for the company. I was gonna, and yet they're putting me in charge of this piece of garbage that I found out later is at the bottom of a river. It appeared, however, I was also one of the workers with a capital, And emissary of light, lower sort of apostle. This is all external characterization. Internally, he feels like, we'll find a different color. I think a different color. I don't know what color I want. Maybe red. That one's black. It's probably dried out too. I'll try this red. Ooh, nice. He feels like he's an imposter. And then Mr. Kurtz. Marlowe on 8, I think it was 8, regards him as the poor chap. Essentially at the end of the world. The accountant says, first-class agent. We're on 22. I don't know if you guys can see over my shoulder there. First-class agent, remarkable person, very remarkable person. Did I caution you about remarkable, the word remarkable? A very old friend of mine came to me after performance and he said, Michael, if I ever tell you that your performance was remarkable, check your back for knives. Because remarkable just means that you're capable of remarking upon the performance or whatever it is that you've got going on. So if I tell you that it's remarkable, I'm just looking for something nice to say without actually being critical. Very remarkable person, but that is not what it means here. Very important one, charge of a very important trading post. And productive, sends in as much ivory as all the others put together. Is that because of his efficiency? And bottom of 22, when you see Mr. Kurtz, tell him from me that everything here is very satisfactory. He will go far. He will be a somebody in the administration before long. They above the council in Europe, mean him to be. There are great expectations for Mr. Kurtz. Okay. And then we meet the papier-mâché Mephistopheles. And on page 30, before He's described as the papier-mâché Mephistopheles. Prior to that, we just have, his little beard and his hooked nose, right? Forked little beard and a hooked nose. Devilish appearance. So page 30, this dialogue is hilarious. "Tell me, pray," said I, "who is this Mr. Kurtz? Who is this guy? I keep hearing about him, and nobody really tells me anything of substance. Nothing. They tell me nothing." And he responds, "The chief of the interstation." Marlowe's like, "Duh. Yeah, I get that. Who is he? You're still not telling me anything of substance." "Much obliged," I said, laughing. "And you are the brickmaker of the central station. Everyone knows that. And why is that hilarious?" "He's the chief of the interstation." "Yeah, good one. Thanks. And you're the brickmaker." Nicole? "That he has not done anything. He's been out there for a year, and there's not a brick to be found. There's no bricks. If you're the brickmaker, what do you do? What do you actually do? Who are you? What are you doing here? To tell me that he's the chief of the interstation, again, that's nothing. You're telling me nothing." So he was silent for a while. "He is a prodigy." "Well, touch you." Bobby Fischer. "He is a prodigy. He is an emissary of pity and science and progress. An emissary of light." I'll put light in quotation marks because I'm lazy and don't want to write out science and all that other stuff. We want, and this is interesting construction. "We want," he began to declaim suddenly, "for the guidance of the cause entrusted to us by Europe, so to speak, higher intelligence, wide sympathies, a singleness of purpose." So we want this. We want these things. "Who says that?" I asked. "Lots of them. Some even write that, and so he comes here, a special being, as you ought to know." So what happens there? What is the brickmaker saying? From the "we want" to "as you ought to know." We want for the guidance of the cause entrusted to us by Europe, so to speak. Higher intelligence, wide sympathies, a singleness of purpose. Some even write that, and so he comes here, a special being, as you ought to know. Any idea what's going on there? Anybody at home have any suggestions? Because that's how you've got to read it. There are too many interruptions as Marlowe is telling this story. It's something very interesting, and it throws a lot of things into question. Any thoughts, insights, possibilities? So this is one of those. It's a more current meme, and it's how it started versus how it's going. And considering how it's going, that when Marlowe arrives at the central station, page 24, I think it is. Yep. So on page 24, almost just past like the halfway mark. And this is interesting. He says, I felt I was becoming scientifically interesting. However, all that is to no purpose. On the 15th day, I came in sight of the big river again and hobbled into the central station. It was on a backwater surrounded by scrub and forest with a pretty border of smelly mud on one side and on the three others enclosed by a crazy fence of rushes. A neglected gap was all the gate it had. And the first glance at the place was enough to let you see the flabby devil was running that show. White men with long staves in their hands appeared languidly from amongst the buildings, strolling up to take a look at me, and then retired out of sight somewhere. You know what a mouth breather is, right? That's these guys carrying these long sticks and coming up to Marlowe, and I've removed my mask to show you, but they're just like checking out and then disappear. What are they doing at this central station? And then, we had the fire that we looked at last time. So how's it going at the central station? The fire is probably the best explanation. And then trying to put the fire out with a pail that has holes in the bottom of it. That's how it's going. So how did it start? And this is the good how it's going, because they've been out there for a while. So prior to Mr. Kurtz coming out, we want for the guidance of the cause entrusted to us by Europe, so to speak, higher intelligence, wide sympathies, a singleness of purpose. We need a leader. Some wrote to Europe asking for that. Somebody needs to come here and tell us what we're supposed to do, because we don't know what we're supposed to do. And Mr. Kurtz shows up. And so what is the expectation regarding Mr. Kurtz? Guidance of the cause, higher intelligence, singleness of purpose. They're assuming that he's those things because they asked for those things and then Mr. Kurtz showed up. He's really being built up. Guidance of the cause. We'll just go singleness of purpose. Somebody who can help us focus. Somebody who can whip us into shape. Because everybody around here is just stupid. And, pretty much there. Who says that? Lots of them. Some even write that. And so he comes here, special being, as you ought to know. Special being. Is he a supernatural being? Just because they write to Europe and ask for a certain something and Mr. Kurtz shows up, does that mean that he's the thing that they sent, that they're responding to? No, not at all. Not at all. Some even write that, so he comes here, a special being as you ought to know. Why ought I to know? I interrupted, really surprised. What are you talking about? He paid no attention. Yes, today he's chief of the best station. Next year he'll be assistant manager, 2 years more, but I dare say you know what he will be in 2 years' time. You're of the new gang, the gang of virtue. The same people who sent him specially also recommended you. So Marlowe and Kurtz, they're like peas and carrots. Jenny and Forrest. Right? So there's a parallel that's being drawn in the minds of the pilgrims that Marlowe is Kurtz or Kurtz is Marlowe. Marlowe feels like an imposter. But we've got, this link here, this emissary business. And so who's the one? Who is the one? And did we look at that passage from the Bible last time? Probably not so much. John's disciples told him about all these things. Calling two of them, he sent them to the Lord to ask, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else? When the men came to ask Jesus, they came to Jesus. They said, John the Baptist sent us to you to ask, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else? At that very time, Jesus cured many who had diseases, sicknesses, evil spirits, gave sight to many who were blind. So he replied, not sharing this with you at home, sorry. So he replied to the messengers, go back, report to John what you've seen and heard. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, the good news is proclaimed to the poor. Blessed is anyone who does not stumble on account of me. After John's messengers left, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. What did you go out to the wilderness to see? And I think it's fair to say they're in the wilderness, right? In the heart of darkness. A reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes, like the accountant? No, those who wear expensive clothes and indulge in luxury are in palaces. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, I will send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you. Is Kurtz the one who is preparing the way for Marlowe? Or was Freslevin the one who prepared the way for Kurtz? They're important figures. These are our only three named characters. So I think that's of the importance. How do you feel about that? Thoughts? Sure, yeah. Yeah, Jillian, if you want to get closer, you can. You got it? Okay. You have any thoughts on this? Did you see this coming at all? Yep.
I have two thoughts. One is it just seems like the three main characters all are considered a Buddha or supernatural or light, when in reality, who calls them that because they have no reputation.
Right. Someone else is identifying them as those things. Right.
And I also question, like, then why do they think Kurtz is dead? Because they all of a sudden got to this point where they were, I know this is late in the page like 50s, but after like they went through that whole thing with the arrow shooting at them and they got out of it, they're like, well, Kurtz is definitely dead right now.
Well, that's Marlowe specifically. And he's a pretty negative thinker. He does not have a tendency to think well of really much of anything. And by this point, it's been a series of disappointments that he's experienced. Everybody in Europe is saying that we're doing these wonderful things out there, and they're not. And ultimately his comparison is to hell, which is another, important element. The hero does descend into hell. Jesus descends into hell. Aeneas descends into hell. Odysseus descends into hell. Beowulf descends into hell. So there is a descent into hell for the physical and the spiritual hero. But what, at the same time, what does that mean? And Marlowe would identify himself, he's in disagreement with a lot of this, of how he's been described. But does the hero self-identify as the hero? So, other questions? Other questions? Paper mache Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles is a devil. It's another name for the devil. And so this conversation with the brickmaker is, he's just yet another one of the devils that Marlowe has encountered. Why is Marlowe telling this story? Is it just him telling a story like one would around a campfire, or is he warning against something? And what is the thing that he's warning against? Somebody made a great comparison yesterday. It's like a confessional. And he tells us that he's got to share the experience, and it somehow is related to the notion that this place around the Thames, this place that London, has also been one of the dark places of the earth. And what is it that separates the dark places of the earth from the light places of the earth? So there's a lot of sort of, investigation. We might view it as, like a whistleblower, possibly. Did the man who was charged with causing the fire die in the wilderness? Who knows? We don't know. A lot of the time, you go into the wilderness and you do not return. Where was it? Saw him later for several days, sitting in a bit of shade, looking very sick, page 28, trying to recover himself. Afterwards, he arose and went out, and the wilderness, without a sound, took him into its bosom again. I would be unsurprised if he survived, based on that description. But, could be wrong. Could certainly be wrong. Thanks. Then, page 29. This kind of criticism of what they're doing, what's going on. Am I in the right place, I think? I don't want to skip over. So the stealing of the horse and the halter, what's going on with this? So about the middle of the paragraph at the top of the page, page 29, there was an air of plotting about that station. Nothing came of it, of course. Nothing's going to come about their making of plans, because Nobody does anything. Ever. It was as unreal as everything else, as the philanthropic pretense of the whole concern. As their talk, as their government, as their show of work. Everything they do is for show. You hypocrites. The only real feeling was a desire to get appointed to a trading post where ivory was to be had. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to go where they're trading ivory so that they could earn percentages. They intrigued and slandered and hated each other only on that account. As to effectually lifting a finger, oh no. By heavens. There is something, after all, in the world allowing one man to steal a horse while another must not look at a halter. Steal a horse straight out, very well, he's done it, perhaps he can ride, but there's a way of looking at a halter that would provoke the most charitable of saints into a kick. And this is just one of those passages where you're like, what? What? And I think the argument that's going on here is that, somebody will commit a crime just outright, and you'll be like, wow, look at you, good for you. Look at what you did. Whereas you see somebody making the plan to steal the horse, and you're like, oh, you better not be thinking about that. Don't you do it. Okay? So I think that's what we have happening here. It's like the one moment that all these years still struggle with a little bit. But this time around, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing this time. So page 30, and I know that's not very helpful. I apologize. Page 30. We got a lot of stuff going on here. So Marlowe laughs, nearly bursts into a laugh. Wild-eyed to know, I interrupted, really surprised. He paid no attention. Yes, today he is the chief of the best station. Next year he will be assistant manager, 2 years more, but I dare say you know what he will be in 2 years' time. You're of the new gang, the gang of virtue. The same people who sent him specially also recommended you. Oh, don't say no. I have my own eyes to trust. I see it. Light dawned upon me. Oh, now I get it. My dear aunt's influential acquaintances were producing an unexpected effect upon that young man. I nearly burst into a laugh. You actually bought that? You believe all this stuff about me? Me? God, you're an idiot. I can't believe it. This goes back to Walker Percy and the Loss of the Creature. I don't know if you remember, but like one of the first things that I said to you after reading Walker Percy, Loss of the Creature, if you had expectations about me, I can't live up to those. This class cannot live up to the expectations that you have. You cannot build something up and expect it to meet everything that you're expecting of it. Marlowe knows that he's an imposter. I'm not any of these things. That's not me. Dude, you're hilarious. This is really, but interesting at the same time. So I'm going to see how far I can get this. Do you read the company's confidential correspondence, I asked? So, now he thinks I'm a big deal, and so I'm going to ask him if he's reading everybody's private mail. He hadn't a word to say. It was great fun. When Mr. Kurtz, I continued severely, is general manager, you won't have the opportunity. So now I'm going to pull Mr. Kurtz on him. Oh, you're in trouble now. Just wait till Dr. Thacker hears about this. Okay? He blew the candle out suddenly and we went outside. So the brickmaker is angry. And concerned at the same time. So the bottom of the next paragraph on page 31, I felt a hand introducing itself under my arm. Oh, yeah, you do. My dear sir, said the fellow. So this is somebody who, comes up to you and wants to make sure that you know that everything's okay. Everything's cool between us. It's cool. We're okay. I promise. Grace, you're laughing. My dear sir, said the fellow, I don't want to be misunderstood, and especially by you. You're too important. Who will see Mr. Kurtz long before I can have that pleasure. I wouldn't like him to get a false idea of my disposition. I let him run on. I let him just talk and talk and talk. Seemed to me that if I could try it, I could poke my forefinger through him, would find nothing inside but a little loose dirt, maybe. He, don't you see, had been planning to be assistant manager by and by under the present man. And I could see that the coming of that Kurtz had upset them both not a little. So the use of litotes, beautiful thing. They were both very upset when Mr. Kurtz showed up. Who's this guy? Who's this guy all of a sudden? He talked precipitately. I did not try to stop him. So he's just going on and on and on. And Marlowe gets distracted and he looks out, starts thinking about the river and the jungle. Could we handle that dumb thing? Or would it handle us at the top of 32? I felt how big, how confoundedly big was that thing that couldn't talk. Perhaps was deaf as well. What was in there? See a little ivory coming out of there? I'd heard Mr. Kurtz was in there. I'd heard enough about it too, God knows. Then he goes on, talks about some dude that he used to know. And close to the middle of 32, he says, I would not have gone so far as to fight for Kurtz. Is that the idea that redeems colonialism? Is that the idea? But I went for him near enough to a lie. You know I hate, detest, and can't bear a lie. How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that he hates, detests, can't bear a lie? Because you're one of his friends. You're one of his friends who's on the boat listening to him tell the story. You know I hate, can't bear a lie. Not because I'm straighter than the rest of us. I'm not better than you guys, but simply because it appalls me. There's a taint of death, a flavor of mortality in lies. You tell a lie, you kill a small piece of yourself. You create a Horcrux, which is exactly what I hate and detest in the world, what I want to forget. It makes me miserable and sick, like biting something rotten would do. Temperament, I suppose. Well, I went near enough to it by letting the young fool there believe anything he liked to imagine as to my influence in Europe. So he thinks that Marlowe is really important, not even listening to him anymore. Just thinking. Notice the rhetorical questions at the bottom of this paragraph. I do not see the man in the name any more than you do. Do you see him? Do you see the story? Do you see anything? It seems to me I'm trying to tell you a dream. Marlowe is struggling to figure out the right words to continue the rest of the story. I don't know how I can continue. I don't know what happened to me out there. This is all super weird. I don't get it. I was talking, after all, to a brickmaker who didn't even make bricks. He was silent for a while. So our frame narrator jumps in because Marlowe stops talking. The narrator says he was silent for a while, speaking of Marlowe. Marlowe stops talking. Yeah, we get those ellipses. Marlowe stops. Narrator from the very beginning, from page 1, says he was silent for a while. No, it is impossible. It is impossible to convey the life sensation of any given epoch of one's existence. That which makes its truth, its meaning, its subtle and penetrating essence, it is impossible. I don't know how to tell this story. He paused again, as if reflecting, then added, of course, And this you fellows see more than I could then. You see me whom you know. So you know what I was struggling with. You're going to be able to figure this out before I can, because it happened to me. And you've probably got friends who are like that. Do you have friends who can help you figure out what just happened to you? You come out of the event going, what just happened? And your friends are like, now, I told you a long time ago, right? Does anybody have somebody like that in their life? Hopefully, at least one person. Okay? Yes, I let him run on and think what he pleased about the powers that were behind me. I did. And there was nothing behind me. There was nothing, because I'm an imposter. But that wretched old mangled steamboat I was leaning against. He did not make bricks. So there's weird conversation happening here. He talked fluently about the necessity for every man to get on. That's the brickmaker. And when one comes out here, you conceive it is not to gaze at the moon. Why does a person come out there? What is the brickmaker claiming the reason why people go out there? Why do they go out there? It's this. To do the work with a capital, you know. That's why they come out. We're not out here to gaze at the moon. We're out here to do the work. Is anybody doing any work? No, nobody's doing any work. Marlowe's, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. Mr. Kurtz was a universal genius. Even a genius would find it easier to work with adequate tools, intelligent men. So there's some odd narration here going on. We get Marlowe's thoughts in between the things that the brickmaker says. Mr. Kurtz was a universal genius. Even a genius would find it easier to work with adequate tools, intelligent men. He did not make bricks. Why? There was a physical impossibility in the way, as I was well aware. So Marlowe actually asked the question, you don't make any bricks. Why do you not make any bricks? Because it's impossible, is the response, as I was well aware. And if he did secretarial work for the manager, it was because no sensible man rejects wantonly the confidence of his superiors. That's why I read the mail. Did I see it? Oh, I saw it. What more did I want? So we're to imagine that the brickmaker asks this question, even though he doesn't put it in dialogue. What more did I want? What I really wanted was rivets. That's what I want. He's ignoring him. He's not paying any attention to him anymore. You want to know what I want? I'll tell you what I want. I want rivets. Give me rivets, for crying out loud. It's like us at the beginning of the year. Give me a mask. Give me immunization. Give me plastic barriers. How hard is it to get this stuff to us? That's what I want. Rivets. What does a rivet do?
It like binds things together.
It puts things together. Marlowe is falling apart. And the boat is in pieces. He's just trying to hang on and keep it together. Keep it together, man. You can do it. All I need is these rivets that he's been waiting on to get on with the work, to stop the hole. Rivets I wanted. There were cases of them down at the coast. Cases piled up, burst, split. So when I came in, I saw rivets all over the place. You've got a wrecked ship. You kicked a loose rivet at every second step in that station yard on the hillside. Rivets had rolled into the grove of death. You could fill your pockets with rivets for the trouble of stooping down. And there wasn't one rivet to be found where it was wanted. We need rivets here. They don't need them out there. Get them here. You're the guy in charge of getting supplies. And you're not making bricks. Get me rivets. "34, he was becoming confidential now. But I fancy my unresponsive attitude must have exasperated him at last. For he judged it necessary to inform me he feared neither God nor devil, let alone any mere man." So we can assume Marlowe was behaving in very much the same way that I just was. Because the brickmaker says, I ain't afraid of you. You can't do anything to me. I said, I could see that very well. Oh, I can tell. But what I wanted, you asked me, was a certain quantity of rivets. And rivets were, since apparently you're worshiping Mr. Kurtz, rivets were what really Mr. Kurtz wanted if he had only known it. Now, letters went to the coast every week. We write to the coast all the time. My dear sir, he cried, I write from dictation. You have to come to me when I'm doing the writing and tell me that you want rivets then. I demanded rivets. There was a way for an intelligent man. Oh, why did you have to do that? Why did he do that? I called him stupid. There was a way for an intelligent man. You're an idiot. He changed his manner. He gets very upset. Became very cold and suddenly began to talk about a hippopotamus. Well, that's weird. Wondered whether sleeping on board the steamer I stuck in my salvage night and day, I wasn't disturbed. There was an old hippo that had the bad habit of getting out on the bank and roaming at night over the station grounds. The pilgrims used to turn out in a body and empty every rifle they could lay hands on at him. Some even had sat up o' nights for him. All this energy was wasted, though. That animal has a charmed life, he said. But you can say this only of brutes in this country. No man, you apprehend me, no man here bears a charmed life. The brickmaker just threatened Marlowe's life because Marlowe called him an idiot because he's not getting them rivets. So, why are the rivets important? Why are the rivets important? Why is this hippopotamus important? What, does Marlowe want the rivets? No, that was a lie.
Oh.
Yeah, Marlowe tells the brickmaker, you know what? I bet Mr. Kurtz wants rivets too. Because the brickmaker's all about, oh, Mr. Kurtz, he's just, he's all these things. And Marlowe's like, you know what? Guess what? If I'm coming behind Mr. Kurtz, I'm going to go ahead and say that, that's what he wants too. He wants rivets as well. You should get him some. Maybe drop a few off here. Because ultimately, they are the suppliers for Mr. Kurtz as well. So maybe if I don't want them, if I tell him Mr. Kurtz wants them. So how is the story of the hippopotamus a threat upon Marlowe's life? Any ideas on that? Just on a side note, my daughter loves to watch video of Fiona. She at the Cleveland Zoo, is that right? Yeah.
So it says that the animal has a charmed life,
Mhm.
so it's able to kind of learn, even though everyone has rifles that they can shoot him, he doesn't die.
They shoot at it all the time. He will come out at night and just wander around on the bank, and everybody will come out and shoot at it. So that's a big part of it. It survives that. How does that then become a threat on Marlowe?
So then he says, no man needed this life.
So can you tie those together for me?
Basically, if they shoot at Marlowe, he won't survive.
Right, and where does Marlowe sleep? Yeah, on the deck of his boat that's on the bank of the river. And so the hippopotamus comes out. We start shooting at the hippopotamus. Somebody shoots you. Oh, sorry. Oh, Marlowe's dead. Hippo's charmed. You're not. Good luck. Make fun of me. Yeah, I'll get you rivets. So there's only about a couple of minutes left. Do you have like an urgent question? And I think ultimately going through this a little bit more slowly than ordinarily I would is beneficial to you. I don't think I'm going to give you a new reading assignment tonight. I didn't even put one on the agenda now that I think of it. Do you have an urgent burning question that you need before I send you off? We talk about it again on Monday. What do you make of all this? Yeah.
So I know the story doesn't have like a normal climactic sort of where it's leading to, but at this point, he's just trying to get to Mr. Kurtz. Right?
Yep. Yeah, we might compare it to. Actually, we might compare the fog to being in the belly of the beast, and so that thought that Mr. Kurtz is dead after that attack after the fog or within the fog is that moment of it's over now. May as well just turn back. But no, we got to keep moving forward, I guess. So, okay. And we'll get at these other questions. Thanks for posting in the chat, and I'll make sure that those get onto an index card and we hit those that we did not hit. But these are great, powerful, important questions. Folks at home, don't forget, submit the outline tomorrow by 11:59, and that goes for you folks as well. That's it. Yeah. See you again. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have like a low headache. I hate that. Be safe. Have a good weekend. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So you emailed me about sharing my essay with you because it wasn't my document or my rough draft wasn't shared with you.
Yes.
So I went back in to go share that with you.
Okay.
Now I typed my entire essay on my own personal account, and then when I went to turn it in, I realized it needed to be on my PHM account.
Oh, okay.
So I went out to my PHM account to go into my rough draft and share it with you, and that copy of my essay had about 50 words on it.
Oh, okay.
So, and I went to my personal account. I have the full essay. I do not know why my school account is only showing one paragraph of it, but I wanted to confirm that the essay that I have submitted is more than just
Oh, that's
one page. Because
yeah.
it won't let